today. My name's Eric. I really appreciate you stopping by to check out my video today. On this episode of Smo'King, I'm going to be cooking a beautiful beef brisket. Now I got to give a shout out to Roger, who's the manager of my local Sam's Club here in Fountain Valley, California, who hooked me up with this 15.5 pound USDA prime beef brisket. This is about as best as you can get when it's got that prime label on it, so I'm really excited to try this. Now, I'm going to be cooking this a little non-traditional. I'm going to be cooking this sous vide style. I've been getting a lot of hassles from some of my friends. My good college buddy John Yee always giving me a hard time about boiling meat when I do this sous vide method. I'm not boiling meat, I'm just going to cook it to a beautiful temperature, and it's going to make it a little more foolproof. Now let me get something out in the open right away. The best way to cook a brisket, the traditional way, is to do it low and slow, in a smoker, okay? But here's the problem. It's a complicated thing to do for your average weekend barbecue enthusiast. Because smoking a big brisket like this, 15-pound brisket, can take up to 20 hours. So it's a very time-consuming process, and there's a lot of monitoring, a lot of work, adjusting temperatures, adding wood, and if you miss up and do one mistake along that 20-hour process, it can end up being a dried out, disastrous brisket after you put all that time and effort into it. And for your average guy just having some buddies over on the weekend, they want to enjoy some brisket, this method is going to make it more foolproof, and it's still going to produce a delicious smoked brisket without all that hard work, without all that babysitting, and it's going to make it much easier, and it's going to be more enjoyable for you because you can actually socialize, have some beers, and hang out with your friends, okay? So, to keep things simple, I'm going to be using a basic rub, kosher salt and ground black pepper. That's all you really need. If you want to use some other kind of rub, feel free, but this is the more traditional way. The other thing I'm adding is 1 tablespoon of this Prague Powder, which is a pink curing salt. This is completely optional, but this is going to give us that nice pink smoke ring that we want on the brisket. So I'm excited to show you guys this whole process. Stick around, I'll show you how to do this step by step. Let's get cooking. So the first thing you want to do is get it out of the package, rinse it off with some cold water, get all that residue, blood and stuff off of it, dry it off with a paper towel, and then start trimming away. Now I'm not going to go over in detail the trimming. There's lots of videos, just do trimming a brisket on YouTube. Franklin, Barbecue with Franklin does an excellent video on trimming. T. Roy Cooks does a trimming video. There's quite a few of them out there. So I'm not going to waste my time showing you that step. Plus I'm not very good at it, but one side has got the fat cap on it, and that's perfectly okay. You want around a 1/2 inch to a 1/4 inch of fat, which is what I got on this side here. And then I just want to flip this over here and show you. The other side, you can see here on the side, it's very well marbled, and you want to have a little bit of fat. The fat is going to render down when we sous vide cook this too, so don't worry about it. Just clean it up as much as you want, and the main thing is to cut off those big, hard lumps of fat that aren't going to render down completely. So I got a little shaker here, and what I'm going to mix up for this size of meat, it was 15.5 pounds. I probably cut 1.5 pounds off, so it's probably around 14 pounds. I'm going to do 3 tablespoons of salt and 3 tablespoons of black pepper. You don't want to go too much on the seasoning because you definitely want to taste this prime brisket when it's all done. So what I've done here now is I've only put 2 tablespoons of kosher salt in here because I'm also adding 1 tablespoon of the Prague Powder, which is mainly 95% of it or 94% of it is regular salt anyway. It's just, I think it's 5 or 6% of it is the sodium nitrite, which is what is going to give us our smoke ring. So in total it's around 3 tablespoons of the pink salt. And be real careful with the pink salt. Look at the directions on the package. 1 teaspoon for 5 pounds of meat. You don't want to go over, it could be dangerous. And then here I got 3 tablespoons of regular ground black pepper. There we go. Shake it up real good. We want to make sure it's nice and mixed, particularly with that pink salt. And you can see in there, hopefully you can see in there. So we got everything mixed up. So now we're just going to give a nice dose on both sides. This isn't rocket science. We're just going to start sprinkling. If I need a little bit bigger, I got some variety here. We're just going to start sprinkling this salt and pepper mixture on the brisket. The fun part now is going to be trying to get this into a sous vide bag. Luckily, I'm going to try to use a regular 11-inch food saver bag. I think I might be able to get it to fit. If not, I did buy some expandable food saver bags just in case. I didn't want to get halfway through and realize it's not going to fit and not have an alternative. Worst case scenario, you can always separate the flat part with the point and put it in 2 separate bags. But for presentation, I like to cook the whole brisket. It looks so much more impressive when you're done. So I'm just going to sprinkle all the sides with the salt and pepper mixture, making sure to cover as much as possible. So I'll continue to do this and we'll be back in a second when hopefully I'll show you how to get it sealed in the bag. Alright, I did it. I managed to squeeze it into an 11-inch bag. It took a little bit of maneuvering and a little bit of time, but I did it. And mainly because when I went to trim the fat, I did kind of cut it a little bit off on each edge just to make sure I'd have enough room to fit it in. But like I said, no worries if you have to cut it in half and put it in 2 separate bags. Now for such a big piece of meat, I actually got a new container for my sous vide machine. And I did double bag it. So just in case there's a leak in one of the bags, hopefully the other bag will hold up and we'll be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and get my sous vide machine warmed up, and we'll plop this in just a second. Be back in a minute. Alright, I have my new 13-gallon sous vide container filled up with water, and I got it set at 155 degrees. Now here's a little tip for all you the sous vide people out there. Your sous vide machine, depending on the wattage, I got a pretty heavy duty one here. My Backmaster has 1500 watts. Most of the less expensive ones, you know, the Innovas, Julie, they're usually right around 1000 watts, 800 to maybe 1200 watts. So they don't have a lot of power to heat up a huge amount of water. So even if you're using a little pot or you know, 4 or 5 gallon container, to make it a little bit easier on your sous vide machine, fill it up with as hot as water as you can get out of your tap. I usually turn my hot water on as hot as it can go. I let it run for a couple minutes because it usually takes that long before I get some really hot water, and then I fill it up, and then I stick my machine in, and then I turn it on, because this I think the hot tap water was right at around 125 degrees for me. So heating this much water from 125 to 155 is going to be a lot less work and a lot less stress on your sous vide machine than putting ice cold tap water in there and expecting it to bring this whole huge amount of water up to temperature. So that's just a little helpful hint. Always start with hot water so you don't have to put so much stress on your sous vide machine. The other thing is you're going to get a lot of water evaporation with such a big container and for such a long cook. We're going to be cooking this a minimum of 24 hours, but we can go all the way up to 36 hours. That's the great thing about sous vide. We're not set at one specific time. So I'm probably going to let it go as long as I can. Right now it's around 12:30 in the afternoon. I'll probably get this in close to 1 once this is finally warmed up. And I'm not planning on eating this for a couple days, just to give you an overview of the process here. I'm going to let this sous vide all day today into tomorrow. At some point tomorrow, probably early evening, I'm going to take it out after it's gone maybe 30 hours or so. I'm going to cool it off in a container full of cold water, and ice to bring that temperature down, and I'll keep it in there for around a half hour, and then I'll put it in my refrigerator, and I'm gonna let it sit in the fridge overnight to make sure that big piece of meat here gets completely cool all the way through. The reason I'm doing that is because the following day, all I'm gonna need to do is to heat it up to temperature again. I'm gonna do it on my kettle grill, and I'm gonna use some hickory wood. And so I'm gonna put it on there, indirect heat with some hickory wood, and I'm gonna just let it sit there, probably 250, anywhere from 225 to 275. You don't want to go much higher than that, and we're just gonna let this warm up and absorb some of that smoke and absorb some of that heat and form a nice bark on this thing. And the only way to get that nice bark, unfortunately, is with a grill. You can use an oven if you don't have a smoker or a grill. Just set it to, say, 275, 250, and put it on some kind of oven rack and stick it in the oven for, same amount of time. Anywhere between 2 and 3 hours. You want to make sure not to go much longer than 3 hours, because then you risk drying it out. So that would kind of defeat the purpose of sous vide. So the other thing I'm going to do once I get it in here to prevent that water evaporation is I'm going to cover this with aluminum foil, and I'm going to monitor it over the course of today and tomorrow and make sure my water hasn't dropped drastically. Our main concern is to make sure this brisket is completely submerged for the full cook time. So that's it. It's at 133 degrees, so I probably got another 10-15 minutes before it's fully up to 155. We'll be back in a little bit when this is ready to throw into the bath. See you in a little bit. So here we are. It just reached temperature. It just beeped. Let this sit out on the counter too. It's okay if it warms up a little bit with that salt, pepper, and curing salt in there. All right, now I'm going to put this bad boy in here. And once it hits 155 again, look at that. I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. I got it set for 36 hours, but like I said, as long as we hit 24 hours, we're fine. It's 116. Took a little bit longer to heat up than I initially anticipated. So I'll probably take this out tomorrow, 4, 5, 6 o'clock, whenever I have a moment to. So we'll be back then. The hard work's done. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and cover this with some foil, and I might lay a couple towels on top too, just to really try to keep the heat in there and not stress out my sous vide machine so it's working overtime the whole time. If I can keep that heat in there, a lot of people take an igloo cooler, which is really nice, and cut a hole in the top and just stick their sous vide machine in there when they're doing a larger amount of water. But I don't have a cooler. I'm just going to cover this with foil and try to keep the heat and moisture inside. So once this hit 155, I'll start it again, and I will see you guys tomorrow. So here we are. Look at that. I had it set at 36 hours. There's just 2 hours and 34 minutes left. So it's been, around 33 and a half hours. I was busy today. I just let it go. It's not going to hurt it. In fact, it's probably going to make it a little bit more tender. I did run into a problem I want to show you guys. This thing started to float, so I improvised here. I didn't want this thing to float above the water line and not cook, so I took a rack and put it on top, and then I took a saucepan, and the water in it sitting on top was just enough to hold it down. So let's finally get this out and get it cooled off in some ice. So like I said, this thing's been going for 33 and a half hours. I'm going to turn it off. This poor machine's been working overtime. I did cover it with foil. Get this all off. So, there it is, my big old brisket cooking 33 and a half hours. Wow. Quite a lot of juice, but it looks wonderful. So what I've done here is I just put some cold water in the container here, and we're just going to shock chill this. So I'm going to put it in the cold water, and then I'm going to add some ice. We want to bring down the temperature of this as fast as possible to come out of the danger zone. So we want to drop it down as quickly as possible. So I'm just going to let it sit in here for probably 25 minutes to a half hour. I'm going to put it in the fridge, and then tomorrow, after it's been nice and cooled down, we're going to bring it up to temperature on the grill with some charcoal and some real wood smoke. This is going to be delicious. I'm really looking forward to this. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Welcome back, everyone. We're into the next day. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. I just cut it out of the bag. I poured quite a lot of juice. Don't throw this away. I poured it in a special cup to kind of separate the fat, because there is a lot of fat that rendered down over this 30+ hour cook here. So I'm just going to let this sit out here. I put a light dose of salt and pepper on it. I dried it off with a paper towel. I'm going to go outside and fire up the grill. This is already fully cooked, but it's been sitting in the fridge around 16 hours or so. So it's very cold, which is where we want it, because we want to heat it up nice and slow on that kettle grill and give it a good dose of smoke to give this outside of this brisket the nice spark that we're looking for. So it's okay if it sits out here and comes up to room temperature. I'm going to go outside, fire up the grill. We'll be back in a second when I show you the next step. Alright, I just fired up the grill. It's going to need around 20-25 minutes. In the meantime, beer review. This is a new one. Lagunitas Brewing Company, Something Easy Ale. It's got a really cool, like 1960 something or other there. Not quite sure what. But, yeah, local California company. I like the name. Something Easy. So we're going to give this one a shot. As always, guys, I really appreciate you watching my video here. I'm really looking forward to this brisket. This is looking good. Okay, right off the back, I see the color. It looks like a wheat beer a little bit. Whoops. Got a little aggressive on my pour there. Ooh. I can smell orange, tangerine. Wow, it's very strong. I didn't even get it up close to my face, but I could definitely smell it. Wow. Okay, you can see kind of like a soapy head there. Kind of a light wheat, golden hazy color. Wow. Lots of fruit. Definitely orange, nectarine, maybe a little bit of plum. It's very strong. But boy, it smells very good. I can smell a little bit of hops. Alright guys, as always, cheers. If you have any comments, suggestions, please feel free to leave them. I try to answer every single one that I get. Again guys, thanks. I really appreciate all your support. Oh, that's good. Okay, it's medium carbonated. Right up front, I can taste a lot of fruit, like I said. Then as you end it, it's got a little mild bitterness and a little bit of a hoppy aftertaste, but not bad at all. It's pretty easy drinking for 5.7% alcohol. I thought it would be a little bit stronger, but it's actually very good. Slight bitterness, like almost like a bitter orange. A great summertime beer, I'll tell you. In the summertime when it's really hot, you want something that tastes good, light, refreshing, not overpowering. This is definitely a good choice. Alright guys, I'm going to go check on that grill. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this beer. I will meet you back here when we're about ready to throw this on. See you guys in a little bit. As always, cheers. Alright, I just wanted to show you before I started cooking how you want to set up your kettle grill for some indirect cooking. We don't want to put this under direct heat. It's going to get way too hot. This is already cooked, this brisket. We're just going to put some smoke on it. So on this side here, I put some charcoal. I just lit it over here on this side, so it's going to burn all the way across. And I put some alternated between apple and hickory wood chunks. On this side, I have a pan that I put some apple juice in there to act as a heat barrier. To help keep this side a little bit cooler and also to add some moisture to the grill. We're shooting for anywhere from say 225 to 275. It doesn't have to be exact. We just don't want it to get it too hot. So let me put the grate on here. It's going to probably take 20 minutes for this to stabilize. And then another thing is, since the smoke is coming up from here, and on this side is where we're going to put the brisket, when you put your lid on, you always want to put the vent on the opposite side, because that's going to force the smoke that's coming up here to travel across the meat and then come out the vent here. So I got my bottom and top vent adjusted at halfway open, and that's it. I'm going to let it sit here for 20 minutes to stabilize, and we'll go from there. See you in a little bit. Alright, I have this stabilized here. We got a nice little fire going here. The wood's just starting to catch, so time to put this on. I'm going to put the fat side down right over this pan. I'm going to have the fat piece face that fire. Alright, I'm at the 2.5 hour mark. Let's take a look here. Oh man, I like that crust. See, it's right at 250 degrees, which is perfect. Ooh, this is looking nice. Even got a little bit of liquid on there. Ooh, I like it. I think it's just about done. Let me just put this on to keep it warm. I'll get a tray. We'll get this inside and we'll slice into it. See you in a little bit. Alright, I just pulled it off the grill. Man, it looks wonderful. It smells wonderful. Ooh, some burnt ends, crispy on the end there. It looks great. I'm just going to let it cool off just for a second. We'll be back to slice it. Alright, here we are. Let's slice into this, see what we're looking at here. Ooh, it smells wonderful. Ooh, you can definitely see a little bit of a pink smoke ring, but the meat looks kind of pink. No, there's definitely a pink smoke ring. Ooh. Wow, there's a lot of juice in here. There's definitely a pronounced smoke ring for sure. Woo! But there certainly is a lot of juice. Oh my goodness. Alright, let's see here. Gotta do the hang test there. Let's see. Ooh. Okay, it pulls apart. Whoa. Pulls apart very nicely. Excuse me while I try a piece real quick. Oh my goodness. Oh man. This is really delicious. Wow. Let me see if I can get the rest of the family here to try this. We'll be back in 1 second. Alright, here we go, guys. Way pronounced smoke ring, more than I thought. I didn't even use all the rub. I thought maybe I didn't use enough of the Prague powder, but yeah. Definitely a little smoke ring there, and it's so juicy. I don't know if you guys could tell here. Look at this. Oh my goodness. So delicious. Let me get the rest of the family here. We'll try some slices. So here we are with the whole family. My wife Monica, my son Kyle. I've cut a little piece here. Grab a piece, Kyle. Grab a piece, Monica. The pink ring is a little overdone. Next time I'll go a little less on the pink salt, maybe because I cut off so much fat, but oh my god, the flavor and the juiciness.
That is brisket done right.
What do you think? Look at the camera.
Like it?
And I'm telling you, I was a little worried about smoking it at the end, whether it would absorb smoke. But boy, can you taste the smoke? Can you taste the smoke? I mean, it's very, very smoky. But not too much. It's perfect. And I can taste a little bit of that charcoal too, which I love cooking on charcoal for that reason. Wow, so this is a simple, easy way to cook a brisket. You can sous vide it, 30 hours, a few days before you have a get-together. Put it in the fridge, put it in the freezer. Just throw it on for 2-3 hours before, when your guests arrive. You don't have to stress it. And look at this, man. It's wonderful. What do you think, Kyle?
It's
No
flavor.
words.
Now we're so used to smoke things, so for our taste buds and stuff, we're used to the smoked flavor. But when we give it to other people, they're not used to it, so it's more smoky for them. This, I can taste the smoke, even though I have this stuff all the time.
And is it good?
Heck yeah.
All right,
Great
guys.
flavor.
As always, I appreciate you watching my video. If you like the video, hit like. If you like my channel, please subscribe. Click the link up above. It's to my website, ericsmokingbbq.com, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Say bye. Bye. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
And say bye too.
All right.